we've had some wonderful studies. How many of you got your Bibles with you tonight besides the little study lesson? Anybody? Good. Could you turn to Daniel 10 and Daniel 12? I want you to read a couple of things there. Daniel 10, and somebody turn to Zechariah 3 and 2. Zechariah 3 and 2. I may have to sit down here in a minute with my back like it is. Do that as we read this. Ho, Day, Michael, Ho, Archangelos, Hote, To, Diablo, Diakrinomenos, Dialegeto, Peri, Tu, Moses, Somatos, Uk, Atolem, Mason, Treason, Epi, Neg, Cain, Blasphemios, Awa, Apan, Epitemesi, Zoe, Kyrios. All right. All right, Daniel 10 and verses 13 through 21. Can one of you got that one?
Daniel 10, what?
I think Joanne got it there.
10, 13 through 21.
Yes.
But for 21 days the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now I am here to explain what will happen to your people in the future, for this vision concerns a time yet to come. While he was speaking to me, I looked down at the ground, unable to say a word. Then the one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. I said to the one standing in front of me, I am terrified by the vision I have seen, my Lord, and I am very weak. How can someone like me, your servant, talk to you, my Lord? My strength is gone, and I can hardly breathe. Then the one who looked like a man touched me again, and I felt my strength returning. Don't be afraid, he said, for you are deeply loved by God. Be at peace, take heart, and be strong. As he spoke these words, I suddenly felt stronger and said to him, Now you may speak, my Lord, for you have strengthened me. He replied, Do you know why I have come? Soon I must return to fight against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, and then against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Greece. But before I do that, I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. There is no one to help me against these spirit princes except Michael, your spirit prince. I have been standing beside Michael as his support and defense since the first years of the reign of the Darius the Medes.
All right, 12 and verse 7. Daniel 12 and verse 7.
The man dressed in linen who was standing above the river raised both his hands toward heaven and took his solemn oath by the one who lives forever. It will go on for times and a half a time. When the shattering of the holy people has finally come to an end, all these things will have happened.
All right, Zechariah 3 and 2. Someone have Zechariah? You got that?
No, I dropped my pen.
Zechariah 3 and 2.
I got it.
You got it?
3 and 2.
Zechariah 3 and 2.
The Lord said to Satan, The Lord rebuke you, Satan. The Lord who has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. It is not this man a burning stick snatched from the fire.
All right. Now Jude quotes this here in this verse, and he also quotes some of the book of Enoch in this. He also tells us a lot about angelic forces. And of course, a lot of times you ask me questions about angels. When you study about anything in the Bible, you have to go look all of those sources up and go from every book in the Bible and read what you have. Now there's a lot of things. 2 Peter 2 and 11. Someone go to 2 Peter 2 and 11 also.
Okay, whereas angels, which is greater in power and might bring not railing accusations against them before the Lord.
All right. All of these verses that we have read have something to do with angels. Does God have a nation in the world today? Does he have a nation today? No. Will he have a nation?
Israel.
He's going to call her out, and he's begun to call her out already. He's already begun this. And he will take possession of her at the end of the tribulation period. He will protect her right in the middle of the week. The Antichrist is going to destroy Israel, the nation Israel, and they're going to try to destroy the nation Israel, and the Lord will protect her. And when Israel thinks that she is completely destroyed and there's no hope left, she will cry to the Messiah who she crucified. The Messiah whom she crucified. She will cry, and he said to them, as national Israel before he left, he said, "You will not see me again until you say, blessed and holy is he that came in the name of the Lord." And we know, and I brought this to you the other day, Israel rejected God triunely in three ways. First of all, the Father told them everything in the Old Testament. We realize that God is the author of the Old Testament. Of course, you can't pick out God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They're one God. Okay, there aren't three of them. But God the Father, as the Father of eternity, as the Father that called out Israel, as the Father that Israel was married to. Okay? She was his spouse, wasn't she? All right? She rejected the words in the Old Testament and the person of the Father, didn't she? Israel, when God called Israel out, and he brought them into the promised land finally, it was under what we call a theocracy. That meant that God was ruling over Israel. And what did they say? This was in the time of judges and the prophets and everything. What did they want?
They wanted a king like everybody else.
They wanted a king to lead them like everybody else. Well, God was their king.
Yeah, but
They wanted a physical one. People always want a religion and a God that they can see and a religion they can feel. They want this. And they were not satisfied with the invisible God. They wanted a king to lead them, and God gave them one, and his name was Saul. All right? But he replaced him, didn't he? He replaced him with David. Well, in the New Testament, the Bible taught, and in the Old Testament, on Sunday morning we're studying the 3rd chapter of the book of Genesis, where God promised the woman. When the woman and man sinned, and the serpent and Satan were all there together, he declared curses upon each one of those, but there was also a blessing. God told the woman that through her seed that all mankind basically would be saved, because her seed, she would bring forth the Messiah. And the bad thing about it is that Satan would also have his seed line in the world too, because of the evil when they rejected God. When Adam and Eve rejected God, rejected the knowledge that he gave them, had given them, and they wanted more, remember? They wanted to partake of the fruit of the knowledge, of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Well, God promised the woman that her seed, that she would bring forth the Messiah. Well, who was the first child that Eve bore?
King.
Cain. All right? Cain means what? Marilyn, you remember?
I remember, but I can't remember it now.
Gotten.
God.
All right? And she declared, "I have gotten the man, even the Messiah, the Lord, the Jehovah." Okay? When he was born. Well, a long time passed. She had another child, and his name was
Seth.
Abel.
Oh, yeah, Abel.
Abel. What does the name Abel mean? Breath.
Yeah.
Just a breath of life. Just breath. That's all Abel means, just breath. A fleet, something that's short-lived. Just breath. All right? Now, who was the promised son? Who was the heir of this promise, of the faith line? Cain. Cain was the firstborn heir, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
All right? Not Abel. Abel did not have, Abel never did, he never was the heir of the faith line. Abel never was. Cain was. When God made known unto mankind that after they had sinned, God took animals and killed them and skinned them and clothed Adam and Eve with these skins off these animals, and he showed them something innocent had to die for someone guilty. And that's what it was. And that was a promise of the Messiah to come. Well, Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And what was set in front of the gate of the Garden of Eden? Remember? What, Dakota?
Angels.
Angels. All right. Angels. This, the cherubim, what did they have in their hands? Flaming swords. Okay, this is destruction and death. They couldn't come that way. Because in that garden was the tree of life also, and God did not want mankind to live in eternal sin. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? How would you like to have to live in your body in sin forever? I wouldn't want to do that. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to do that. That would be a horrible thing. That would be worse than hell, I believe. Anyway, Cain did not want to do it God's way. He wanted to do it his way. And by the fruit of his hands, now remember that thorns and thistles were growing in the ground at that time, and basically I believe that all the fruits on the plants that were in the Garden of Eden, some of them became deformities. And a thorn and a thistle is a deformity of a fruit. A thorn is a fruit. How many of you ever stepped on a goat head? Well, that's the fruit of the goat head plant. How about a wonderful little old sandbird? Those things are horrible. They got lots of stickers on them, and they just hang on to you, and you get one of them stuck in you, and you stick your fingers trying to pull it out with the other hand, and it'll stick the other hand. You just get, it's just continual sticking. Well, that's the fruit of that plant. Now, before man sinned, it might have had a nice little berry on it. I don't know what was there, but something happened. The fruit of this plant became a deformity. Well, the ground was hard to till. Before, it just brought forth all kinds of fruit. Remember, it never had rained yet or anything else. God was watering the ground with a mist and everything. Well, Cain was very proud of his religion. He brought forth a religion of the works of his hands. He was doing things his way. Now, this is the promised son. This is the man that the Messiah is supposed to come through. Okay? Well, he would not offer a blood sacrifice. He wanted to offer the fruit of the ground that he had done. If you offered a blood sacrifice, and I want you to remember something else at this time, nobody was eating any animals. Now, Cain and Abel and their wives and all the other children of Adam and Eve had to be clothed with animal skins. You don't burn the animal skin when you sacrifice the animal, you just burn the meat. And you have to cut it up and quarter it up and lay it on the altar to be burned. Make sure there was no blemishes in it. The only thing that those animals were used for, they weren't used for eating. They were used for sacrifice. And of course you could take shear the sheep and everything and make wool clothing and things out of that. But mainly, they were for sacrifice. Well, Abel, which means breath, he was a sheep herder. Sheep herder. And Cain was a tiller of the ground. He was going to turn this curse around. God, you can curse me all you want to. I'm just going to show you what I can do with your curse. And if you look at his descendants, every one of them, now God told Cain that he would be a wanderer, didn't he? In the land of wandering. That's what the land of Nod means. They went and built a big city, and they tried to turn the curse of God around to pleasure. That's exactly what Cain was doing right there at that period of time. He was thumbing his nose at God and saying, look here, you accept what I give you. I will make a religion, and I will make a God that I want. That's right. I'm sure he didn't believe in hell either. His God would not send anybody to hell. It was a God of his invention. And it was a God without a Messiah too, wasn't it? All right? And this was the one that was supposed to bring forth the Messiah, the promised seed. Well, Cain got mad at Abel because Abel accepted. They would take their sacrifices probably to the gate of the Garden of Eden, where the angel was, built an altar out there, and offer it up there, and God would come and accept these sacrifices. But he would not accept Cain's sacrifice. Cain got mad. Abel says, well, big brother, heir of the kingdom of God, why don't you just do what God wants you to do? And he said, no. And not only did he say no, what did he do?
Killed him.
He murdered his brother. And it says, it's in the Hebrew, it's in the PL stem, and he cut him and stabbed and stabbed and stabbed, and what you call overkill. He was just cutting him to pieces. And God said his bloods cried to him from the dirt of the ground. Now the blood that was shed into the dirt of the ground became even more cursed than what it was before. The ground was more cursed. So Cain, being this super farmer that he was, the ground from now on would not bear and bring forth the fruit that it did before, because he was double cursed because of him. Because he had shed his brother's blood, and his blood was crying to him from the ground, crying to God from the ground. So God cursed him, and something else at this period of time. There was no death penalty. No death penalty. God had not announced the death penalty yet. Cain was not going to be punished any more than the God of his religion, his homemade religion that he had. His religion wasn't going to work for him like it was because the ground was cursed. He wasn't going to be a good farmer like he was before. So he became a city builder. He thumbed his nose again at God. And every one of his descendants, instead of being of the faith line, these descendants of Cain become rebels to God. And there is why God had to destroy the antediluvian civilization. It's because of Cain's descendants. Now Cain killed Abel. And then God replaced Cain, not Abel. God replaced Cain with Zeth, which means substitute. All right? But angels were there all the time. I want you to remember this. Angels were witnesses to God of all that happened. Okay? And it says here, and the Michael, the archangel. It wants you to understand here, it's got two definite articles, ho and ho, in front of a ho, Michael, and ho angelos. Archangelos, that is. The Michael, the archangel. Now, he's the only one that's really specified as an archangel in the Bible. Now, the Jews and the book of Enoch, and the reason why the Jews, they have 7 to 8 archangels is because Enoch names them. And I'm going to tell you who they are according to the book of Enoch. All right? Michael, Gabriel, Lucifer, Uriel, Raphael, Ragiel, Sarakael, and Suriel. All right? Suriel is kind of a, I guess, a replacement archangel now and then. All right? He's kind of one to stand in when the other ones are busy. All right, Michael the archangel. John, did you have a question?
Yeah. What does the ark stand for?
Head.
Okay.
Head angel. Ark. Head angel. Or old. Head or old. Okay? When, with the devil, he kept on, or he was contending, that's what it meant here, he was fighting with him, and it's not so much the words physical fighting, but debating. Debating. They were arguing. Now, in the book of Daniel, the 10th chapter, we went back there. Daniel had called upon God in prayer to help him, hadn't he? And what happened for how many days? The prayer had gone unanswered for how many days? How do you remember what Joanne said? 21 days. That's 3 weeks, isn't it? 3 sevens. 7 is the number of completion in the Bible. For 3 sevens, for 21 days, Daniel did not have an answer to his prayer. Why? Satan had hindered God's man Gabriel from coming. And Gabriel's our archangel too, isn't it? Huh? All right, according to what we saw here in the Jewish history and the history of Enoch. Michael had to come and overcome Satan and let Michael or Gabriel come to answer Daniel's prayers. Now, he said that there were spiritual forces over what other nations? Over the other nations. What?
Persia.
Persia and Greece.
Oh, Greece.
All right. Well, if you look in the Bible, you're going to find out that every nation has spiritual forces behind it. Now, since the world today, I mean, we're patriotic and stuff like that, a lot of us, and we have flags, all this of the country. But in all reality, what does, America, after September the 11th, they cried to God for prayers, saying, God, protect us from all these wicked people. Well, for one thing, we went over and made them mad. And the whole problem here is bad religion. Their religion is kaput, and it's the religion of Cain again, isn't it? Of wickedness. Bad religion is what we've got in the world today. It's not too much religion, not enough religion, it's bad religion. Truth is the only thing that'll ever bring us through. And besides that, if you look at this little chart up here on the wall, you're going to find out that we have to go through this, don't we? That's just the way it's going to be. If you read the book of Daniel and Ezekiel and the book of Revelation, you're going to find out that the nations that are having problems right now are going to have problems exactly in the right place where they're having the problems. And there's nothing we can do about it. This is what we call eschatology. What does eschatology mean? Remember what eschatology, Margaret? What's eschatology mean? Eschatos. That means last. Eschatos, last things, the study of last things. The last things of the church age. Okay? This is what's supposed to culminate the church age. Look up here on your little chart and look at the regathering of Israel. That's one of the big indicators of the last times, is when Israel is regathered. Now, if you ask a Jew today, do you think that God wanted you to come back into the land of Palestine, of Israel, and they want you to, is this the promise of God? And they say, absolutely. And then turn around and ask them, how come you had to leave? Why did you have to leave? They're not going to say we killed the Messiah king.
What answer would they give?
To him, he was just a man. I mean,
Oh, yeah, he was just a man to
he
them.
was just a man.
He's just a man to them.
Yeah.
But they were dispersed throughout the world. And the only reason why God's bringing Israel back together again as a nation is because he's going to beat the tar out of them. He is going to whip them until their nosebleeds. Have you ever heard of that, Bill?
Yep.
I mean, he's going to whip them until they say, wow, help, I give up. This whole tribulation period is a period of correction for Israel and bringing them back to God. And he's going to use angelic forces to do it. God allows wickedness in the world today because this is Satan's, he is the God of this age, isn't he? He's allowing Satan to do the things he did. We don't like it, do we? How many of you like living around with all these snakes in the grasses? I don't like it very much at all. It's rough. That's down on that Dakota. And it says when he was contending with the devil, he kept on debating and arguing about the body of Moses. This is the only place in the Bible where we know that the body of Moses was tried to be stolen by Satan. Why do you think he might want to steal the body of Moses? So Israel would worship it. They'd have a God they could touch for ages. I mean, this is. We have enough problems with Catholicism, don't we? With all the relics and things. They got all kinds of relics of the apostles and everything. And one of the things that the Anabaptists stood up in the ages past, it says an altar or any of these tombs don't mean anything. Those people's bones of these apostles aren't any more sacred than a coyote's bones. They're just bones, and they stink and they rot. They were just humans. They left that behind because it was carned, flesh, that's all. The spirit of those people went to be with the Lord. Okay, the devil, they kept on arguing over the body of Moses. And Michael dared not bring any judgment upon Satan. Any blasphemous judgment. He wasn't going to say anything to Satan at all. Why? Because he said, the Lord rebuke you. Jehovah rebuke you. Jehovah shall rebuke you.
He couldn't do it himself. He had it done. God had it done, right?
Yeah,
That's what he
God
used
had
God's
to do it.
name.
He's the only one that is more powerful than Satan. Remember, what was the absolutely epitome of the creation of God? Who was it? Huh?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. Man. What was the next ark creation of God after him? Man. But, we have that strong adversity conjunction there, Allah, but, he said, and now this is an unusual verb form here in the New Testament. He said, God shall reprimand you. And this is third person singular, first aorist, middle voice, and optative mood. We have a mode here that's optative. Optative is a mode of hopeful affirmation. He'll do it. Why did Michael hope that God would reprimand Satan? Because in all the other prophecies of the Bible it says he would. And God's word is good, isn't it? It is sure. All right. All right. Let the Lord reprimand you. Okay, in verse 10. Now there's a lot of cross references here, and other books of the Bible for this one also. Hotoi, they, Hosa, man, uk, oidasen, blasphemusen, Hosa, they, Visikos, Hos, Ta, Olaga, Zoa, Epistanta, and Tutois, Vither Rontai. There's some neat things in this verse too. These ones, and these ones whatsoever indeed not they have known. I was talking about these rebellious ones. They don't know the things of God. You know, you can tell somebody about Jesus all day long. And you can try to talk the Bible with them. But if they don't know Him, you're reading somebody else's mail to them. Did you know that? That's just, you're reading somebody else's mail and you know what's going on. If you don't know the God of heaven. These things will never mean anything to you. It says, these people blaspheme and rail and scoff at the promises of God, is what it's talking about. The judgments of God. Do you believe that the demons tremble and fear God?
Yeah, it says it.
Just go back to the book of Mark and look there at the Gadarene demoniac. The demons that were indwelling him were fearful. When Jesus approached them, they had possessed a man that lived among the tombs, graves. He lived in the graves. He laid in there with dead people, in the filth of the dead. He was the living dead. All right, the land of the dead. That's where the man lived. And these demons had possessed this man's life for many years. And he was horrendously mistreated. And when Jesus addressed this man, demons spoke to him. Not the man, but demons, because they were in possession of the man's person. And he said, "Oh, Jesus, oh, the Son of the Most High God." They knew who he was. "Why have you come already to throw us in the bottomless pit?" Already? Please don't do it right now. You know, it's not time yet. Cast us into those pigs over there. Let us dwell. See, demons like to dwell in human or animal flesh. Can dogs and cats be demon possessed? Evidently. Evidently. All right. Blaspheme and rail at. And it says they instinctively. This word here is, look at this word in Greek. It's phi, ipsilon, sigma, iota, kappa, omega, sigma. Physical. That's where our word physical comes from. Right there. Physical. Physicos. See that? Our word physical comes from that word. The physical. I think there was a song or something one time, some ungodly buzzard sang about let's get physical or something.
What's the name of that blonde-headed girl?
Oh, blonde-headed woman, get physical.
Madonna.
No.
Madonna or something.
Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John. Physical. Physical. You know what that is? Let's be animals. Let's be animalistic for a while. Let's just be animals. That's what the word physical means. He said they were animals. As the things, it says without reason. Actually, what it says, aloga, there, that means without speech. They can't talk to you. Without speech. Animals. And they don't understand these things because their minds have been corrupted. Reprobate. What does the word reprobate mean? Reprobate. Marilyn, do you remember that one? What does the word reprobate?
Deny God.
What's the word reprobate mean? What does that literally mean?
They're going to
Reprobate.
hell.
Well, yeah, they're going to hell. What does reprobate mean literally?
Somebody that denies God,
Someone that denies the faith.
denies the faith.
Someone that has rejected truth. Who was the first person that rejected truth in the Bible? Who was the first reprobate? Cain. All right. What was his descendants by? By the way, if you'll study the descendants of Cain and the descendants of Adam to the faith line, now Cain was the faith line until God rejected him, and he rejected God, and God rejected him. Okay. How many of you learned something tonight? There's some good stuff in here. This book is dynamite. If you'll study Cain's descendants, Cain, now this was supposed to be the one, the teacher, that taught the things of God. He was the heir of the promise of the Messiah. But he rejected it, and he was rejected. He had a son named Lamech, and he had a son named Enoch, just like Adam's grandchildren. Enoch means teacher. What do you think Cain's Enoch taught? Wickedness. How about Lamech? Lamech means the glory of God. Okay? What do you think Cain's Lamech did?
Gloriously.
Huh?
Gloriously.
He was one of the glorious things to say. His grandfather was a murderer, wasn't he? He killed his own brother. What did Lamech He said, I have gotten me wives. He became a polygamist, for one thing. And he said, I killed a young man for insulting me and bruising me. And God said that anybody would hurt Cain, he would be rewarded sevenfold. But he said, I tell you, anybody touches me, he'll be rewarded 70-fold. A braggart and a murderer and a liar and a polygamist.
My Bible says he had 2 wives.
Yeah. Polygamist. Two is more than one, isn't it? Monogamy is single and polygamy is more than one. All right? Okay. He became a polygamist and he became a murderer, and he's taught his children how to murder. These were the people that learned how to fight and kill. These are the people that were hunters. And remember, they were hunting animals, and animals were not given to man to eat yet, were they? Man had no right at all to kill and eat an animal. That was sacrificial food to go on the altar. They could take the wool, they could take the skins off them, they were not supposed to eat them. When did God give man the right to eat animals?
After they left the ark.
What?
After they left the ark.
After the ark landed, after the days of Noah, when the ark landed, then God told Noah that he could have animals for food for his children and for mankind from then on. And that's also when the death penalty was instituted also. There was no death penalty at this time. All right? Physical. Getting physical. These are physical. They are like speechless animals. They are corrupted. They are physically destroyed, spiritually destroyed, and by the way, they have destroyed themselves. They have destroyed themselves. Destroyed themselves. What does rebellion to God, where does it lead you? First of all, it leads you on the road to hell, doesn't it? Whether you believe in hell or not. Lost man does not want to believe in hell. Did you know that? Lost people refuse to believe in hell. Lost religions refuse to believe in hell. That's one of the ways you can judge them. When you judge a religion by 2 things, basically. What do they believe about hell, and what do they believe about God the Son? And most of the time, they're going to be wrong on both of them. Okay? And verse 11 says, Uah, autois, hoti, te, hodo, tu, Cain, epoi ru theson, kai te, plane, tu, Balaam, misto, ex theson, kai, te, anta legoia, tu, Korah, apolonto. This verse we're going to have to study more than just tonight. There's just too much of it here. We could take Cain, and we can take Balaam, and we can take Korah, and we can go through all of them and have one class on each one of them if we wanted to. Whoa! Uah, you know, it's kind of like an onomatopoeic word. Whoa! My little girl, when she hears me cry out in pain, ow! Oh! She comes running. Daddy, what's the matter? Can I help you? Yesterday I took her fishing even feeling like this. Out boating, her and her brother and her little nephew. And she was out there right a hold of my arm, leading me all the way, and I was crippled and more a leaning tower of pizza than what I am today. Oh, Daddy, I want you to feel better. I pray that you feel better and all this. But when I'd holler, that's an onomatopoeic word. Ow! It sounds just like it is. Ow! Wow! Whoa! Calamity, ruin. Woe to them. Who's them? Altoids. Who's them? Woe to the rebellers, to the rebellious ones, because in the way of the Cain they went. They have been caused to go. What caused them to go that way? That's passive voice. What caused them to go that way? See? Their will, their rebellion against God, and then the rulers of Satan, the angelic forces, came right along and boosting them right along, feeding them all the baloney. Right in one ear, Satan's talking this other ear, one of these imps in the other ear. You got your own religion. You don't have to listen to that Bible. You're going to go your own way. You're going to do your own thing. Don't you let anybody tell you about morals. Don't you let anybody tell you about what's right and what's wrong. You got your own way. Do your own thing. Isn't that what Cain did? Was he the originator of it? Was Cain the originator of it? No. His mama was. When Eve chose to go the wrong way, she doomed her offspring. You want to do something for your offspring? Give them the right path to walk and show them how to do it. That's the best gift you can ever give your children. Show them the right way, not by telling them, but by showing them the right way to go. Show them how to be a father. Show them how to be a mother. Show them how to care. Show them how to doctor. Show them how to feed each other and care for each other. Show them the right way. That's the gifts. You know what Eve did? She showed you the wrong way. You're dying. You're getting old. I'm crippled today because of what Eve did back then. The legacy. Now here is her first hope. The first child, she said, I have gotten a man, even the Lord. And this is the one, Cain, that we were talking about. The promised heir of the seed of the woman. What a disappointment. Could she see herself mirrored in him, Bill? The rebellion that she rebelled against God. Could she see herself in Cain? You know, she repented and she did serve God after that. She believed in God. But the wickedness that she had performed already was inherited by her children.
I have a question.
Yes.
She repented and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on his way. So wouldn't Cain would be responsible for his action for that punishment?
Each and every one of us are responsible for our actions. But remember, your sins will be inherited by your children for how many generations? Seven generations. It'll take your children 7 generations to get shut of what you can do in this world. That's how much an example you are supposed to be to your children. 7 generations. Not only children, but the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren, and the great-great-grandchildren, and the great-great-great-grandchildren. Every one of them. We are responsible to God, each and every one of us. Do you have to go that way? No, each and every one of us are. But are you leading toward that way? Have you got all the genetics to do wrong? Yeah, it's all there. But do you have to? So each and every one of us could break the form. We don't have to do like our mamas and daddies do it. I mean, if your father was Al Capone, you don't have to follow that way. But probably you would. Probably you would.
Okay, I got
But you
another
don't have. Yes, brother.
Okay, what if you don't do that way, but your kids don't follow up? So would that be 7 years from then, from that point for them?
No, it's still from mama.
Mama or daddy?
Daddy. Actually, the daddy passes on the sin. But look at this. I mean, that's the sin generation. Women, you pass on your traits to your children, to your genetics, sure. But the death is passed on to the man. The death is passed to the man. Okay, the penalty of death.
That would be the genes. It would probably take 7 generations
Wash it out.
to work out the genes.
If they want the right direction.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, if they go the right direction. Give your children the best. Give them the best.
And what if they refuse?
The best you got.
What if they refuse?
Well, if they refuse, that's what. You know what that is? That's what you call volition. That's what you call self-sovereignty. And that is the most dangerous gift.
I think that when they refuse, a lot of that is the genes from the 7 generations behind you. You know? And I know some people that's done the best they could raise their kids, and the kids still turn out bad.
You see a lot of people that are Christians all their life, go to church, and the kids are just
Yeah.
like animals.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I think that is part of
what's
what's
fault
going
is
on.
it? Whose fault is it? You know?
You know what you know what your job is to do, Libby, is to be the best father that your children can have, regardless of what the mama does. And hope that what you do outweighs that, and hope they go like you instead of like her.
Exactly.
And women, if you've got a bad husband, hope that the children follow your good example instead of the bad example, because it's there, isn't it? It is there. It's a curse. Is your sin a curse to your children? Yes. Will you see it in them? Absolutely. I can guarantee you. You can go out and sow your wild oats, but you have to reap the crop. The crop is going to come up. And I don't care how much you pray for a drought, they still come up. Yeah.
I think the only way you can cut that off, Jim, is if you just didn't have children. Because, you know, you look at you.
Well, then your niece or your nephew might be like you.
You cut off the lineage then.
But you look at your forefathers and see what they're like, and it kind of can tell you what's that.
Maybe you'd be the 7th one. You don't look like it.
You don't know. My wife is the sweetest little thing in this world. She had some bad genetics in times past, but she took after some good side, and she did it for herself. You know what that poor woman prayed for? She'd been all of her life without a husband or anything, and she sat in her bed one night and she cried to God and shed tears and asked God to give her a husband that could teach her the ways of God and teach her the Bible. She wanted to go to church and learn the things of God, and she wanted all of this. She said, God, you're going to have to hurry up, you're going to do something. And here I came. Curse and all. That's the way it was. Did God answer your prayer?
Yes.
Yeah, He did. The thorns came with it too, didn't they? She's been taking care of me for 2 days now. This time. Waiting on me hand and foot. And Dakota too. Of course. Thank you for your attention tonight. We'll start here in verse 11 next week. I hope you enjoyed something. I study all the time for you so I can teach you more. And I have to study to remember what I already know and try to gather up a little more as I go along. And I hope that you're learning. I hope it's being a blessing to you. And if you want one of these albums here with the tapes, these tapes will be in them, you can get one of those from me. And they're $35 per album. And I think there's probably only one album of tapes here for this thing if you want these tapes. Good to have you. And Levine, would you dismiss us in prayer tonight, brother?
Thank you, Lord Father, for the lesson that we're being taught here. My brother Jim, Father, that you continue to be with him. And Father, heal his body, Father, to be able to do your will, Father, for you. And continue to be with his family, protect him, and Dakota, and Marion, and also be with the class. Hopefully they will be witnessing to you, Father. Take this information out here, Father, that we know, allow your Holy Spirit to allow us to be witnessing unto you, Father, as we go out through this way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Brother Bill, I hope you've got more ammunition to go out there and get that world with now tonight.
I've been reading this week and Isaiah, where they were talking about
Yeah.
the Lord.